Thank you, thank you, thank you. General Secretary of the People's National Movement, Mr. Foster Cummings. My cabinet colleague, Member of Parliament for Aruka Maloney by way of Aruka South, Chairman of the Women's League of the PNM, Minister of Planning and Development, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis. My other parliamentary colleague, Member of Parliament for LaHorquetta Talparo, Axie Coffey. My other cabinet colleague, the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, the hard-working Member of Parliament for San Fernando West, Mr. Paris of Rowley. And of course, if you haven't heard me, let me tell you all, no. Have you seen how many young people have come forward as candidates for the People's National Movement? It is because they've heard me, because I've been saying hard work is for young people. And people like me is to guide young people. And that's why I'm so proud to have seen the lineup of the PNM's 2019 standard bearers for the local government election. And it contains so many young people and so many are women. And tonight, you would have seen, making her debut, one of the best of them, young Carrie-Ann Roberts-Kasmari. Appearing for the first time on a PNM platform, and she jumped right in at the deep end, and can she swim? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have my normal hour and 15 minutes tonight, because I've given it to the man who is championing plant-like substances. And I, like you, was educated about this development and the mission that we've embarked upon. We're changing this country. But let me tell you, people of LaHorquetta Talparo, there are 4 constituencies I lay claim to in Trinidad and Tobago. 4. I kind of think that I'm the only person who's ever run the general election in Tobago and in Trinidad, because I claim Tobago West, as my originating constituency in contesting elections in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm a Tobagoan, as you know that, right? Can't lose that even if I want to. And then, of course, I joined the PNM in Tunapuna in 1974. So I'm a Tunapuna man in the PNM. And I've been representing Diego Martin West since 1991. I'm the Member of Parliament for Diego Martin West. But it's a special constituency. A constituency which at birth, having been made possible by the EBC, I was the first PNM Member of Parliament and part of the leadership to have met with and addressed the constituency of LaHorquetta Talparo. And every time I come here, I feel at home, and thank you for the warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is in fact the local government election. And normally, as we did in 2016, we talked a lot about local government. What it is, what it means, what it should be, what it could be, and what we are going to do about it. We campaigned on local government reform, committing ourselves to reforming the local government system in 2016. In 2019, we should really have been telling you how far along the way we've got. But we haven't got very far along the way of that reform process. But the commitment to reform local government remains. Tonight you would have heard our commitment and execution of reform of the, I want to say the prison system. We have 800,000 cases in the courthouse about marijuana. Marijuana. Tie up the whole country with marijuana. And the world has a solution. See, look, like alcohol, the time has come for the law to manage this thing, and you handle it with freedom. Because those who smoke it can't smoke anymore, you know. And those who not smoking it, they ain't gonna be smoking it. But you free up the system. The jail is full of young people who smoke marijuana. The police have all kind of case about marijuana. This morning I met with the experts from the lab telling us they spend 82% of their time doing chemical tests on every joint that they lock up somebody with. You know how much millions we paying people to do that? You know how many $1 million we paying people to prove that that is not plant-like substance, it's not black sage bush, it's not this, it's marijuana? The world has gone through this. I know that it's not everybody in the country. It's not everybody in the country will say, wele, wele, good thing, good thing. Some people are opposed to it. And that is why we have a system which says the majority opinion goes. We hear the minority, but it is what the majority wants that we will do. We are civilized people. I don't know how many of you would know, there was a time in, let's say, the United States, where people had all kinds of reasons to be against alcohol. If you drink it, you're going to go to hell, and if you're drunk, you're going to kill people, and so on. True. When the hell is true this, right? But the bottom line is, alcohol was illegal. And what happened in the face of that illegality? A whole half of the American police was chasing down people making alcohol. But the moonshine industry flourished because there were people who were breaking the law, and it created an underground economy that eventually it was legalized. It was taxed. It was made available to those who wanted to use it, and there were restrictions on its use. We do the same thing here in this country. Same thing with tobacco. You can't sell tobacco, or you ought not to sell tobacco to children. If you're crazy, you're smoking tobacco. But the bottom line is, we're not filling up our jails with somebody for smoking tobacco. Tobacco is not a healthy thing. But because there are people who choose to use it, we manage its use. And we have the dangerous drugs bill, we have the law. This reformation that will take place when we handle marijuana in the way it has been described to you tonight will change a lot of the life in Trinidad and Tobago. You know how many families have been broken up and destroyed because somebody smoked a joint of marijuana? Is jail, is bail, is all kinds of unnecessary monies. Some can't get a job, some can't go to school. Mr. Hines will tell you, we went out of our way to bring opportunity to young Laventille, men and women. We put a technology center in Laventille. Even those who wanted to go there, somewhere along the road on the way, they smoked a marijuana joint and they were disqualified from being there. But you know, last night I was watching the debate, the Democratic debate in Atlanta. And Joe Biden spoke about legalizing marijuana. And Cory Booker started to laugh his head off. He said, marijuana has been legal in America for the upper class for the longest while. The privileged elites have been smoking marijuana undisturbed for the longest while. What any legalizing now is to free up poor people from unnecessary jail. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. It's a social justice issue. You know, in this Trinidad here, you know who going to jail for a joint. You know who can't get bail and rotting in jail because they had 60 grams of marijuana. We're changing that. But we're going to put the responsibility on you, the individuals, the same way the responsibility is there for tobacco and for alcohol. You have a personal responsibility as to what you do in the face of those substances being available. And we cannot insulate you from it. This morning, the experts showed me a set of pills, blue, green, brown, white, yellow. Every one could kill you. People are getting dressed home, put on nice lipstick on their mouth, go to party and swallow them things, not knowing what the hell they're swallowing, and it will kill them. And we have to pay people now to try and prevent them from swallowing those things and to try to lock them up if they have it. You understand what the system is? So we are going to do what we have to do about marijuana. We're going to manage it, and we're going to manage it in a way that will relieve us from the cost and the pain and all that goes with it, and do it in a way that will take us from here to there. Social justice, social sense, economic sense, and the management of crime and fairness to all under the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. That's what it is. But you know, as we talk about local government, we've done what we could have done. The main thing we cannot do at this point in time, which is to give local government its revenue stream, to do the things that you want to do. As I drove down here tonight, I'm reminded about what could have happened if every person in this housing area were paying that little tax. Because you see, taxation is bearable if a lot of people pay a small tax. If a small number of persons have to pay a huge tax, the tax becomes a burden on those persons. But if a lot of persons paying a small tax, you end up with a nice pot of money. And you here in LaHorquetta, if you are paying property tax here, and you're electing these people to represent you, and you're holding them responsible for what they do with that money, that is how you're going to move from where you are now and not live with potholes and mosquitoes because somebody else is responsible for you. The lifeblood of local government reform is that revenue stream, because once you have an income coming in, great things can happen. You use that income, doesn't matter how small or medium sized it is, because it's a constant stream. You can plan, you can execute, you can be responsible, and you can do wonders. How many of you have seen a man with a not so large salary, but putting it to good use and built a nice, fine home for his family because he's handled that revenue stream in the proper way? Of course, there are those who could never get enough. Broken to teeth after payday, big salary. Is not what you work for, is what you do with it. So ladies and gentlemen, these reforms are underway, and when we say we're getting it done, we didn't get this one done about the revenue stream, because there are those who every God in heaven thing they see that could do good for you, their position is to block it, so as to prevent the government from getting credit for it. So the minute we talk about revenue stream and reform and doing all the things that will do, they've gone courthouse. Win, lose or draw, tight up in the courthouse. I keep saying, I have been paying property tax since I was 17 years old. And I know that that is a tax that we have settled on. And I know why I pay it. $1.44. But when I inherited 2.5 acres of land when I was 17 years old, the tax, $1.44. I knew if I didn't pay that tax, I could lose that land. You understand? And of course, it's a tax that we've agreed upon. When we said, come pay your tax, some of you were on the pavement in line to pay it. The UNC went to court, and here's all kind of court matter. We have court matter because we are law-abiding government, a law-abiding country. We have to wait until the matter is out of the court. The end result is we got a ruling that we have to go and do a repopulation of the roll, starting from scratch, to register every house in Trinidad and Tobago. And we can't collect any of that tax until we've done half of it. That will take years. And they smile, we mark smile from ear to ear. You always smell like you're smelling something, right? And they felt that they have succeeded. We are saying local government reform will take place. And I tell you, God willing, under the next PNM government, after the next general election, it will take place. Because we are committed to it. We talk about giving you extra policing for your security. They didn't manage to block that, so we got most of that done. We've got about 800 persons selected and trained and are out there in the corporations because you need that security. They couldn't block that. But you know, when I was Minister of Housing, one of the policies that the Patrick Manning government pursued under the guidance of Patrick Manning, the Prime Minister, was that because we wanted to nurture businesses and to help up those who are at the base and to not just let the privileged few take what the country had to offer, there is a P&M policy that the government reserves 10% of government business for small contractors. I operated that in the Ministry of Housing. While big contractors were building 200 and 400 and 500 houses, small contractors were building 5, 8, 10, 2. I remember one day we brought them all at LaHorquetta. LaHorquetta was full of small contractors. They were given assistance by the HDC with accounting and quantity surveyors work and so on. And some of those small contractors went on to become medium contractors, and one of them went on to become a big contractor, giving everybody an opportunity. You know, when under local government reform, we said we'll allow the corporations to have the authority to hire who they want to hire and to use small and medium contractors to provide services. Courthouse. Only 2 weeks ago, they lost the case about garbage collection because they went to court to tell the court that garbage collection belonged to big contractors only. They lost that case. And of course, having lost that case, it opens the door for contractors, medium and small, to play a part in the local government reform exercise going forward. So we're making progress slowly. But the commitment to local government reform is there. The whole question of management, if you reform local government to execute all those things that will flow from that, you will want another layer of workers, the management class of workers, the auditors, the accountants, the supervisors, all of those job creations, they will come. As sure as night follows day, the PNM will win the next general election, and that will come. We are not going through any period of plenty. There are periods of famine, and there are periods of plenty. This is not a period of plenty. And that is why it is so important for your PNM government to be responsible in handling public resources and caring to give you what you have. You see, I remember my uncle passed away as a relatively young man and left his wife with 4 girls, the oldest of which was about 12 or 13. And she had never worked a day in her life. But after the funeral, she went out looking for a job, and she got a job. And she raised those 4 girls. And today, they're 4 very successful adults, among the most successful in my family. But there were many days when they had to do without X and do without Y. And whatever little she got, she rotated it among all the needs, prioritizing along the way, but keeping her eye fixed on the mission to make sure that these children, that they were housed, that they were clothed, that they were given good values, and that they were fed, and that they went to school, and education took them wherever they got. Through a very difficult period. Trinidad and Tobago is in that situation today. 2014, we got $20 billion more to spend than what we spent in 2016. The money is not there, but some money is there. And what this government has had to do from day one is to make full use of what little is there by rotating the payments to all those who we owe, to make sure that we pay here while we owe there. And the key is that we are trying to grow the economy so that more money can go into the pool available. But in the meantime, In the meantime, we try to preserve the gains that we have made. We could easily have come to you and say, listen, we have lost $20 billion from our revenue stream, so we have to cut. In fact, some people have advised us the thing to do is just to cut the budget from what you are spending to what you are earning and end the story. But let me ask you here tonight in LaHorquetta, what would have been your position if the government had taken the position that we're going to cut $10 billion out of the budget just like that and just balance the budget? Every one of you would have been affected. And some of you might not have made it. Tonight you heard the Minister of the Attorney General telling you yesterday we gave 400 of our youngsters scholarships to go forward and to become the best that they could be, costing $142 million. The easiest thing to have done was to have said, okay, we can only afford 200 scholarships, so we cut it. We could have done that. We have tens of thousands of public servants on the payroll. We could have said, okay, cut 15,000, cut 10,000. We could have said that you should not be paying $20 for a tank of LPG. If we double it, it's $40, which is still 6 times cheaper than in Jamaica. But most of you don't know where the bills are being paid from, and some of you who enjoy those facilities are out in front talking about give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more. You cannot get more from less. And when we say we're getting it done, we are getting what we are doing done in the difficult situation that we are in, and that is the major accomplishment. But let me not spend too much time on that. We'll have more time on that later on. I want to tell you that Mr. Dayal Singh has courthouse money. So he got a pre-action protocol. I don't have any money. I don't probably have any courthouse clothes. I am getting a pre-action protocol because it's a status symbol now, right? Anytime you can't answer questions put to you, you fire a pre-action protocol, threaten to sue. So I am getting a pre-action protocol. So tonight, before you leave, I want to put you on notice that when Ernie Ross sue me, you will have to help me pay the bill. Because he's using English lawyers to sue me. Because I say, that he say, that Kamala say, that Munilal say. And after all of that, I'm trying to figure out what the pre-action protocol is going to look like. I'm waiting to see it. But I want to take you people in LaHorquetta to where the pre-action protocol coming from. I spoke at length the other night in Chaguanas, and I spoke for an hour and 15 minutes. And I got a pre-action protocol for something. I'm trying to figure out what it was for. But I said a lot of things that didn't get me a pre-action protocol. Let me tell you what I said there which has not gotten me a pre-action protocol. I said that between 2014, November 2014, and November 2014 and September 2015, going into the term of this government, 2017, so between November 2014 and 2017, Ernie Ross Company earned $13 million from the Chaguaramas Development Authority. And I asked a question, what did the Chaguaramas Authority pay Ernie Ross $13 million for? I expected to get an answer to that. No answer. Would you like to have an answer for that? Yes. Ernie, you hear that? The people in LaHorquetta Talparo want to know what the CDA paid you $13 million for. Because you see, they built a boardwalk in Chagaramas. I don't know what the boardwalk costs. But I could tell you one thing. The boardwalk earned $300,000. But to advertise Chagaramas on the boardwalk, you spend $13 million. And you know, nice check if you can get it. But I'm waiting to hear that in a pre-action protocol. Then, of course, in that same meeting, I hear Madam Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, QC. She sent pre-action protocol to Terence Dayal Singh. And he will deal with that. But she hasn't sent me none yet. Because I said in the Chaguanas meeting, that under her stewardship, the National Gas Company spent $915 million on a few playing fields in the UNC constituencies, of which $429 million was for the same item that they spent the $13 million on in Chagaramas. In Chagaramas, the $13 million was for branding, advertising and branding. Advertising and branding under Kamala Prasad Bisesa out of the NGC kitty was $429 million out of a $915 million bill for something called community outreach. I ain't see no pre-action protocol for that yet. I am waiting for an answer. I want an answer because they have a habit. When we tell you these things, they go on silent. They have pip. They can't answer that. They can't answer that. But coming to talk stupid about pre-action protocol somewhere. Give me a pre-action protocol for $915 million that you supervise as Prime Minister. You see, they believe that you're all stupid. We want to know because that was our money. All taxpayers in here, put up your hand, please. You understand? That $915 million was your money at the NGC, and that was, as Shah Mohammed used to say, that is liquid cash. Cash in the bank account. You take it and oversee the expenditure, because the same way they hold me now as Prime Minister responsible for every landslide, every drain, every murder, you as Prime Minister, you have to tell us how it happened that $915 million was spent from the NGC account under road work, upgrade of playing field, and advertising and branding. NGC is a company that sells LNG to the world in long-term contracts. They know who they're selling it to, and they have them long-term contracts going on. Tankers come, tankers go. They're buying the gas from BP. What are they advertising? What is there to advertise? And you would have seen the nonsense on television last election. What is happiness? It is their advertising agent placing those dotish ads on television, sending bills to the NGC, collecting money. When the thing done, $429 million spent. And now when I tell you, the people, what has happened to you with your money in this country, you come talking about pre-action protocol. Because they believe that the courthouse is theirs, the judges are theirs, and they could go there with any damn foolishness. Bring the pre-action protocol, bring it on. I will be there with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Wouldn't answer. You know how many years I asked in Kamala Prasad Bisesa, what was your minister doing receiving OAS contractors who flew from Brazil to Trinidad to South Africa to meet a UNC minister, and the end result of that was that under that ministry, that minister supervised, was the largest contract ever awarded in Trinidad and Tobago, $7,000 billion. $7,000 million contract to build the highway to Point 14, and a UNC minister met with the contractor in South Africa, and up to this day, I've been asking Kamala Prasad Bissesa, but it's 7 years now I'm asking her that question. She has never responded. Never responded. That contract eventually ended up in grief. Contractor went bankrupt. Locked up in Brazil, half of them went to jail for corruption. And when they were about to lose the election here, election week, the last few working days of their term, one of the things they did, they took out the clause from the contract that protected your money and allowed the contractor to go away with the money. It took this government under Stuart Young's legal acumen to go to London and to go to there and to go to there and to fight them and to fight them and to fight them, and we won. When we won those matters, they appeal it. It's under arbitration still, but the court says, go ahead and spend the money. $921 million. I want you all to wrap your mind around that. We are struggling now to pay a bill. You saw maxi taxis. Everybody pulling stores now. Everybody squeezing now, right? Everybody squeezing now. We owe them what, a few $1 million? What would this country have done in this period of great difficulty with $900 million? Well, let me tell you what we have done. The contractor had stopped the work. When we got back the $921 million, we restarted the project. The highway to Point 14 is well advanced, work going on. A number of local contractors employing local people are building that road, and we're getting the job done. But the question you have to ask is, how come they're sending no pre-action protocol for that? You're so offended. You're so offended that I call your name about getting money from Shagaramas and we don't know what the money is for, because I don't know what Shagaramas have to advertise that you're so lucky, because I want to be so lucky too. I represent Carnage people. We want to know how that money flowing so we could go and get some too. Carnage people have lost their jobs in the CDA because they have bankrupted the CDA. When they came into office, the CDA had a debt of $6.7 million. When they left, the debt was $118 million. My constituents have lost their job down there, so we want to know, Ernie, how to get some of that money too. And when I asked you that, you sending me pre-action protocol? Eh? Bring it. Bring it. And of course, when I talk to you, when I ask you, your boss, ask her, who was in South Africa talking to OAS about that road to Point 14? You just remain silent. And then, of course, when I ask you how your minister, who authorized your minister to take out the clause in the contract that protect the people of Trinidad and Tobago, no answer. She's not answering them questions there at all. But she's so offended. She of the, what do you call it? SC? It's from, the inner bar. The lady from the inner bar has been so offended because Dayal Singh said that under her tenure, 13, 14, 15, there's no information available about deaths for H1N1. When you are, where is the data? Apparently, we didn't die. We never used to die those times. But if you ask for data for 2016, it's there. 2017, it's there. 2018, it's there. 2019, it's there. So how come? And she is so offended by that. that she said in pre-action protocol because she, as a lady of the inner bar, is so accosted and is so enraged that Dale Singh could have made that statement to you. But the inner bar ain't working, right? The inner bar ain't working to answer the question I asked in Chaguanas. SIS, her friend, she always know who is who friend. SIS, who paint off the name of the company when they were working in a house. Because, I mean, if your friend come by you, they paint off the label, right? But SIS got from the NGC a contract for $1 billion. They paid them 54 million US dollars. That is the value of the work. $54 million. When they go and look at how much money they were paid for the $54 million work, they were paid 161 million US dollars. And let me repeat that. The value of the work done for the NGC on that project, 54 million US dollars. This is US dollar talking about, 54 million US. But the checks that they receive in payment are 100, and so in other words, over 100 million US dollars they got for work not done. And the day after election, Mr. SIS left this country and gone. We can't talk to him, we can't find him. I wonder if Kamala wants to send me a protocol for that too. I want one too. Since all sending pre-action protocol, send pre-action protocol for that, because the people of LaHorquetta, Talparo, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, they want to know where the money gone. You see, you live up here. When you're coming up from Tongue or you're going down to Tongue very soon, you'll be passing under the Curep interchange. You see what's going on there? So you will no longer be restrained by traffic lights at Curep. And our intention is to remove all those traffic lights so you could drive from Port of Spain to LaHorquetta without stopping. We are already designing 2 more to bring you up to the Piarco Airport, and then you come to Maloney, and then you go and drive. But just before I left office, they were awarding a contract. They awarded a contract. $524 million to build that Curep interchange. $524 million. We are building it for $221 million. And of course, send me a pre-action protocol to tell me who was getting the $300 million. Since you all want to communicate, I am willing to communicate. I asking the question, and those are facts. And that's why we could say we are getting the job done. Because on that single project, on that singular project, this party, this government, these people in the Ministry of Works have saved you $300 million on one project. On one project. And that has been the standard all the way through everything. You understand? And then there was an imp from Tobago called Watson Duke. He trying to disturb, while we are struggling to swim in this very swift current that they leave us in, he's trying to disturb the country on some old talk that since 2013, public servants are getting a pay increase. Let me tell you something. There's one pot of money in this country that the government has. When we came into office, we met a contract between the PSA and the government of Trinidad and Tobago for a 15% increase. That was equivalent to almost $6 billion. We borrowed the money and paid you. And you got your 15% increase going forward. I heard you talking about disturbance because public servants ain't get nothing since 2015. Let me tell public servants something. This government of Trinidad and Tobago is responsible. And we will not hesitate to give you all that we can give you that this country could afford. But if you all follow Watson Duke and capsize this country and let the IMF come into Trinidad and Tobago, then you all will know where barley grew. Then you will know where barley grew. Because the day the government can't pay its bills, and let me tell you all something, if you all think that government check don't bounce, you go and ask Horquetta Charles in Tobago. Horquetta Charles was king of Tobago until the THA checks bounce in Tobago. Government check, you go to the bank with a paycheck and the check bounce. You understand? Because there was no money to cover it. And let me tell you all something else, two people of Trinidad and Tobago. You saw the Minister of Energy yesterday talking about how much gas we have left, and he smiles at everything, right? You know what you're smiling at? You were smiling by telling you, we have enough gas left for 12 years, for 10 years. If a child is born today, understood? If a child is born today, what that means, that before that child writes SCA exam, unless we keep finding new gas, we'll be out of gas. Understood? And that is why this government has made it its business to work on the gas supply within our border, out in the deep ocean, and across our border to make sure that we have a business beyond 10 years. I'm not concerned about that. They're not concerned about that. What they were concerned about is taking what little you have and then coming to talk about pre-action protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what we have been dealing with because we have not been complaining. We buckle down to the job. You know how much cases in the courthouse where the government is sued for contracts, where contractors are claiming that they are owed money prior to 2015. They use URP, you know, to build $30 and $40 million contract. When we put $100 million in URP to give you a little kakada here to feed your family, contractor appear, URP he 34 million. Out of the 100, he owed 34 million. And he has papers to prove, but in the government department, there's no papers to defend. Understand? That is what is going on. There are in fact, one contractor actually got a government department, one of these companies garnished, meaning any money in the company, the contractor hold it. You have staff to pay. You have work to do, but the company under garnishee, because contracts have been awarded, records are shaky, or worse, and we have to defend you, the taxpayer. And these same people out there behaving as though all this didn't happen. It didn't happen, and they want more. And of course, because we have covered the range of things to be done so broadly, and we are getting it done, they had to come up with something. They come a big plan. She go and open back Cardi to go and produce sugar. But again, you could laugh at that because she had said so before. She had said so before, and she was prime minister for 5 years. Not a stick of cane was grown anywhere. So you can laugh because that is the same stupid talk that continuing. And you know, I saw in the accolades for Satmaraj last week, God bless his soul, I saw somebody saying one of the reasons why the PNM will not get Indian votes in this country is because we were racial in closing down Caroni. And when I read that, I just shook my head. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind all you when I read them things, right? The people who were growing sugar in this country were private people. Orange Grove, wherever, using, these were all private companies growing sugar and selling their sugar. My father worked at using cotton cane. Some of us used to get a little laboring work down there. That's what it was. Then when the market fell apart, these private people were closing down these companies because none of them would stay there to keep anybody in work if they can't make money. They were closing down these companies. In 1975, under Dr. Eric Williams, a PNM government, bought up all these estates, and the owners were too glad to sell them because they were getting out of the business, closing down the sugar industry. And that's why the company was named Caroni 1975 Limited, because that happened in 1975. And this PNM government bought those private companies, and we got 20 more years of sugar industry. And what kept us so long in the business was, by that time, and for most of that period, after we bought it, we were getting a subsidy. We were getting preferential prices in America and in Europe. And even though we were making losses here, the losses were mitigated by the fact that we were getting preferential prices out there. Then they changed the market out there, and they said, you know what? We will give you a few $1 million because we are going to stop giving you the preferential prices. When the World Trade Organization came into being, the WTO, you could no longer have subsidized industries. And that's why the EU gave us a block of money to go into other agricultural business, because they were getting out of subsidizing us. That is what killed sugar in Trinidad and Tobago. But before us, sugar died in St. Kitts. It died in Antigua. It almost died in Barbados. It went sick in Jamaica. I didn't hear anybody in any of those countries accusing anybody of racism. But when we had to face it here, and we lost the EU market, and we lost the US market, I had to read here last week that the closure of Caroni Limited was racism. You understand? That is the country in which we live. And of course, when we closed down Caroni Limited, you know how much that cost taxpayers in benefits to the workers of Caroni? $9 billion. The workers of Caroni Limited, in one form or the other, including cash, improved pension, all kind of thing, it cost the taxpayers $9 billion. And you will hear these wicked people who are bent on damaging and destroying the fabric of this country. In a time like this, and you know what really galls me? Is that they could get that printed in the media, and the media will print that without any question. No question, just print anything they tell you. Eh? How you could print that and not challenge that from somebody? You understand? And that is what is going on. So she is going to restart the sugar industry. So we wait for that. And of course, in this difficult period, one of the things that we have done, one of the major things that we have done, is to manage this difficult cash poor situation by not devaluing the currency. If we had devalued the currency to make life easy for us at the management level, and you were paying $10, if the exchange rate was now $10 or $12 or $15 to one, the numbers might have looked a bit better on the books. But what would have been the effect on you, the people? Eh? The cost of living would have gone sky high. And it's then you would have had something to complain about. Because a lot of complaint here about prices. Inflation is at 1%. When inflation is at 1%, it means the prices are not really moving. In some countries, when you enter the store, it's one price. On the way out is a different price. You understand? But we have managed to keep inflation at 1%. So when we say we're getting the job done, that is one of the major jobs that we got done in this country. And you have to be careful who you're listening to, you know. Because you have those who hoarded a set of US dollars, waiting on the Minister of Finance to devalue the currency so they could get more Trinidad and Tobago dollars that worth less to pay you less. Because if you're working for them and the dollar worth less, when they pay you by the same number, your worth is less. And they get enriched. You understand? And they're advising the government everywhere they get a chance. Devalue, 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 devalue. But we have to be looking out for you. I want you to think, if you're MP, and I want to take a moment to commiserate with Maxi Coffey and his family. I've seen the challenges that Maxie went through. You know, life comes in many ways. I went to a funeral this afternoon of a friend of mine, former soldier. His brother gave the eulogy. That brother was in the hospital a few months ago, and he was in fact dead. We accepted him as dead. A doctor came in and he said, if I was managing him, I would have done so and so and so. And he was preparing to do it when the guy stopped breathing. And because he was in an advanced stage of preparing him, he took him to the ICU ward and restarted him. He restarted his heart. He started to breathe again. Because I left the hospital, left him dead, went home, and a few hours later, I was called and told that he's breathing again. Today, he was giving his brother's eulogy. And for me, it was a very surreal scene to see him there alive doing his brother's eulogy. And it made me appreciate the things that we don't mention in Trinidad and Tobago. Because that young doctor who took him into the IC unit and worked on him would never be recognized. And Maxie, I went to see Maxie when he had his challenges. And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And as Prime Minister, I took the responsibility for extending the taxpayer support to a public officer who needed help. The UNC excoriated me. They were so callous that while Maxie was there fighting for his life and Hermia was there at his side giving him all the support he can get, they was calling for by-election. He done that already. My parliamentary colleagues, one of our colleagues is there fighting for his life, and you so want power, you so want power, you so want power that you wish him dead because you want by-election, and you send Jolly John in his constituency to demand by-election. Maxie is alive and well. Ladies and gentlemen, there are things in life that you could never forget. And there are things that come to you, and sometimes you wonder, who are these people? They couldn't even bring themselves to say a good word of comfort to the family by election. But we prayed, and we stood with the family, and Maxie stood with you. And tonight, his presence here with us is a miracle. A miracle. But, like a marriage, when he came to you, he said, for better or worse, in sickness or in health, and you said, I do. Maxie is still the Member of Parliament for LaHorquetta Talparo. And while he was undergoing his challenges, the space that was left, the gap that was left, was filled by a number of his colleagues. And I want to thank all of them who came in here and made sure that the people of this constituency was not neglected. Because that is what the PNM does. That is what the PNM does. And as he is where he is in his career, young Kerry-Ann has started hers tonight. We of this PNM, we are 63 years old. And I tell you, I would like to believe that we work at being the best that Trinidad and Tobago can be. We never promise you a life without pain and challenges. What we promise you is to try to make it regardless of the circumstances. Regardless of the circumstances, the best option you can have for the best outcome under those circumstances is the people's national movement. So Pundit, tonight I thank you for your words, thank you for your prayers, thank you for being with us. All those of you who offered yourself as candidates, I thank you, because public service is not easy, but it's honorable. And when we do it, let us not do it for ourselves. Let us in this 63-year-old party understand that there were those 40 years ago, 50 years ago, who did it for us. And that is why this PNM will always be great. Local government is important. Government is important. Public service is important. Election day, it is important to come out and support what you believe is the best option for Trinidad and Tobago. So tonight, I'm asking you, wherever you are in Trinidad, on December 2nd, take the time allotted to you. Even if you are on the job, you are entitled to half day to go out and vote. Go out and cast your vote for the People's National Movement's candidate, the PNM, the Balize, and on the night of December 2nd, 2019, once again, we will shout to the high heavens, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.